The 17 golden rules for fat loss with fasting. This is coming from someone that's been doing it for 12 years. I've learned the hard way with some things, and I've learned with some pretty amazing results in other ways, and I'm going to share them with you. Number one, you should be fasting less frequently than you are more frequently. If there's 7 days in a week and you're fasting for 3 days per week, you should be not fasting 4 days per week, right? Same thing as if you start fasting more days than you're not, you're going too far. Take this from somebody that used to fast 5, 6, even 7 days per week. I found that my recovery went to garbage and it was harder to get a result out of my fasting because my metabolic rate was slowing down. I've since found that by taking my fasting days a little less frequently and having them be slightly the anomaly, they retained their potency and I get more effect mentally and I keep leaner and I seem like I have less overall inflammation. Number two, and this is such an important one, eat as much as you can in a healthy way on your non-fasting days. Sure, it's important to get enough calories on your fasting days too, but on the days that I don't fast, I actually live in a slight surplus. And then on the days that I am fasting, I'm in an aggressive deficit. So rather than being in a slight deficit every day, I go mild surplus, heavy deficit, mild surplus, heavy deficit. I find this is really good for keeping the metabolism on its toes. You're not like slowly walking down this path of a slowed metabolism, and you retain, once again, that potency. But also so much evidence suggests, not even with fasting, that your performance in the gym and your performance in life is dictated a lot by your energy balance overall. Not like, hey, I'm gonna go to the gym and have some carbs before my workout for energy. That's much more dictated by, hey, are you fueled? Are you hydrated? Are you recovered the day before? So if you want energy on your fasting days, eat enough the day before. Number three, always stimulate your muscles during a fast. I cannot overemphasize this enough. If you do not use it, you will lose it. And when you're fasting, you are at the risk of losing things pretty quickly because you're not eating. But if you lift and you add some resistance to your muscles and you stimulate them, your body is going to see them as metabolically relevant for survival. You are much less likely to break down tissue during a fast if it is actually being used during the fast. Your body says, hey, this is needed. Number five, monitor your strength and or your libido. This is going to be your best friend in telling you if you're fasting too much. If your libido starts to go down, your work ethic starts to go down, your drive, your strength, these are very clear indicators that you're not recovered and you might be taking it a bit too far. In which case, try taking a simple 3 days off from fasting and see if things come back. Alternatively, increase your calories 10 or 15% on the days you are not fasting. Number five, never, ever fast when you think you are starting to get sick. Or if you go home and your wife and kids are sick, or little Tommy, my son, has a sniffle, I'm not gonna fast. Because that is the time when I need my immune system to be active and working. When you fast, white blood cells go back into the marrow in a form of sort of hibernation. It's like not an official term, it's kind of what they do. And they actually get stronger when they do release, but for the time being, you are slightly immunosuppressed. So wait until, you can't always avoid it, but generally speaking, that's a pretty strong cardinal rule. I have thrown a wrench in many fasting schedules because I've been around someone that wasn't feeling well, and I'm like, shoot, I don't want to take the risk. Number six, prioritize protein, especially on your fasting days. What I mean by this is on the days that you are fasting, when you do break your fast, all I want you to focus on is protein. Protein, 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 high quality protein. If you eat good quality red meat, if you eat good quality fish, if you eat good quality protein in general, you are going to get a lot of micronutrients as well. Okay, if you have a burger, you're gonna get vitamin A, you're gonna get vitamin D, you're gonna get micronutrients along with that protein. Generally speaking, on your fasting days, if you focus on your protein, the rest falls into place. On your non-fasting days, focus on being a little bit more widespread and having more diversity. Your protein is your best friend on your fasting days. I put a link down below for ButcherBox, grass-fed, grass-finished beef, and other meats as well. If you haven't checked them out, they are the best tasting grass-fed, grass-finished ground beef and bison you will have. Or at least I think so. So that special link down below gets you access to ButcherBox, but it also shows you some of my preferred cuts, my preferred custom boxes, different cuts that I would choose. So things like, my favorite fillets, my favorite New Yorks, my different cuts that I choose. But I'll tell you right here, bison, ground beef, fillets, New Yorks. Those are my go-to. Then as far as the seafood's concerned, I eat a lot of scallops and I eat a lot of salmon. So that link is down below. That is a special access link. And a lot of times there'll be special promos like free bacon or free ground beef for a year when you sign up. So you get like a free package of ground beef with every shipment. It's pretty awesome. So that link is down below. You will not regret it. It'll change your grocery shopping and your palate. Number 7, save your antioxidants like vitamin C, like quercetin, resveratrol. Save all of these for when you are not fasting. Do not add them in during a fasting period because during your fast, you want your body to increase its endogenous antioxidants. After you break your fast is a great time to add exogenous antioxidants in the way of supplement form. But just allocate almost all of your supplements to the eating period to just make life easy. The only one that's an absolute must during your actual fasting period would be electrolytes. Number 8, black coffee and tea are fine. Enjoy them liberally. They are only going to help you. Green tea, black coffee. Stop muddying the water asking about creamers. They break a fast. MCT oil breaks a fast. Anything that has calories above and beyond just the negligible amount in coffee and tea will break your fast. Number 9, stevia and monk fruit are fine. Anything else beyond that, I put a big question mark under. Why? Well, aspartame, who knows if it's good for us or not? It's definitely not good for us, but who knows if it's bad for us or not? I'm not gonna poke that bear. We know what happens then, okay? Same with sort of sucralose. I don't wanna poke that weird sloth either. It's just not worth it. Like, who knows? And then erythritol is a sugar alcohol. That requires a metabolic effect. I would say that that's perfectly fine and arguably safe, but not good to take during a fast because it's actually a sugar alcohol. Rule number 10, and probably the most important for breaking your fast, never, ever, ever break a fast without some form of protein. You need to abruptly end your fast with something that is going to start cellular repair and muscle recovery. Do not just say, oh, I have nothing to break my fast with, so I'm going to eat some bread. You are better off fasting a little bit longer until you can have something controlled. I am telling you, you will thank me later. It'll make it so that you are satiated and make better decisions, but you'll also kickstart that mTOR response and you'll get that protein synthesis that you so desperately need at the end of a fast. And a side note, the lower carb you can keep it, probably the better when you break a fast. Number 11, rotate the times in which you fast. You want longevity out of your fasting? You want to be able to do it for a decade? Then don't just skip breakfast every time. Sometimes skip dinner, sometimes skip lunch, sometimes fast short, sometimes fast long. Don't ever let it be just a simple, reproducible system. Number 12, occasionally take 2 weeks off from fasting. Take the time off. It's gonna do your body good. It's gonna make it so you respond better. It's going to be effectively a diet break or a refeed, which is a very effective strategy. 2 weeks off of fasting doesn't mean you go back to old eating habits. 2 weeks off from fasting means you arguably eat as clean as you can, but you just don't fast and you keep your calories at maintenance or better. Number 13, it's okay to throw in the towel and quit on a fast. I've seen a lot of people put themselves into really weird situations where they're dizzy, where they're super hungry, where their body is just telling them no, and they still proceed with fasting. No one is challenging you. This is not a race, this is not a challenge. There's a difference between being able to do something and being optimal. You should feel good. A little struggle is fine, but if you feel horrible, stop. Nobody's forcing you. Number 14, reduce insulin spikes as much as possible after breaking a fast. It seems like a nebulous rule, but it's a pretty important one. Remember, insulin levels are low during your fast, which is arguably making it a little bit easier to go through lipolysis and arguably oxidize fats more. Different goals, different things, but generally speaking, on my fasting days, they are my deficit days, which means I also want to reduce my insulin spikes as much as possible. I do this by just not having high glycemic carbohydrates on my fasting days, and I tend to keep higher protein, moderate fat, low glycemic fruits, low glycemic carbs, things like sweet potatoes and high fiber foods. Number 15, break your fast in a non-stressful situation. It is never a good idea to break your fast hastily. It's much better most of the time to just wait, even if you have to wait another hour, even 2 hours. Not only is it going to make it so that you make better decisions, but physiologically, chemically, you're going to have less cortisol. Cortisol and insulin don't mix. Break a fast when your cortisol is high, spike your insulin. That is a much, much higher chance of you storing fuel. Probably not going to happen too much, but it also might make you feel very crappy. So I would recommend wait until you're calm, wait until you're in a place where you can make a better decision. Number 16, no more than 3 days back to back. I know a lot of people do intermittent fasting as a daily regime. I'm here to tell you that I don't think that's the best way. I know you might feel okay, but after 3 days, especially if you're in a deficit, if you're getting enough calories, it's questionable whether that's okay. But I really think for the longevity of it, you should probably go no more than 3 days in a row. It's just like with working out. Like you wouldn't go 10 days working out straight in a row with no rest, right? Eventually you have to force yourself to take a rest day. Number 17, the literature shows it works. Stop listening to the naysayers. Look, fasting works just as well, if not even better, than caloric restriction in many ways. There's always going to be people that make fun of people that fast because it seems extreme. Do what works for you. This is a huge rule and it should be number one. You do you, live with conviction with what works for you. I'll see you tomorrow.